Is Northeast connecting with the rest of Bharat as it should have over the last many decades, at least in the recent times? Is it happening? Let's start from there.
So we saw the unbelievable potential of our youth, and I'm not going to attribute it to a particular region. Esther is one of our, I believe, one of our Navratnas of our country. And you have this potential across the length and breadth of our land. As Sonal and Zaka were mentioning in their opening remarks, it's youth that brings about change. It's youth that brings about transformation. And today in India, we have close to about 70% of India, which is below the age of 35. We're talking about a population of close to 980 million youth in our country. Now that sounds very easy when the words roll out of your mouth, but that's 3 times the population of the United States of America. That's twice the population of combined Europe. That's the potential that India today holds out, not only for the region, but for the world. And within that cosmos, I believe the Northeast presents a very, very important role that part of our country has to play. If you rewind, Anand, about 500 to 1,000 years ago, all trade from the global south would go through the Northeast prior to going into the Middle East and to Europe. And I think we need to revive those capabilities across our country today. Very few people know, but when you fly from, let's say, a Guwahati or an Imphal to a Chennai or to a Mumbai, equidistant is a Thailand or an Indonesia. And that's the circumference that we need to now connect to. Prime Minister Modi in the last 10 years has talked about and ensured the execution of the rise of the Northeast, an area of our country that was always seen as the last frontier. He has transformed into the first frontier of the country. And across infrastructure, if you look at the number of airports, we had 9 airports in the Northeast 10 years ago. 2 states did not even have a single airport, Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim. Today from 9, we have 17 airports in the Northeast. From close to about 10,000 kilometers of national highways, we have 16,000 kilometers of national highways. From a single waterway, we have close to 20 waterways. Railways are going to connect every state capital over the next year, year and a half in the Northeast. So infrastructure is all pervasive across the Northeast. And it's on that foundation that you've today seen companies like the Tata Group set up a semiconductor fab nowhere else in the country but in Assam. 27,000 crore worth of investment, and the amount of direct and indirect positive externalities that will bring to that area is unbelievable in the coming days.
So big round of applause for that. So there's a lot being done. But you mentioned Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. How's it working with him?
Oh, it's amazing. It's always like as if you're on a treadmill, just trying to keep up. The amount of boundless energy, commitment, dedication, and mind you, Anand, eye for finer detail, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, the ability to be able to connect with every single human being, not only across India, but across the world. To be able to look at not only a mental construct, but an emotional construct. And that capability, I believe, very few leaders today across the world have. I happen to come from a professional background before I entered public service. I used to be an investment banker. And so it was all about being able to deliver on your timelines. And we have today a Prime Minister that makes sure that not only the cabinet, but the government of India delivers on its timelines. And that's why you're seeing the transformation of India.
Is it different from how you perceived him to be when you transitioned from the Congress into the BJP? Did you have a perception of PM Modi, and now working with him over the last few years, Has it changed?
I always have thought that he was a very, and he is a very driven person, a very committed person, a very dedicated person. And one more point I'd like to bring up, Anand, which is very close to my heart, is the revival of India's cultural power. And you're seeing that happen through Prime Minister's perseverance across the board. Whether it's Varanasi, whether it's Ayodhya, Badrinath, Kedarnath in my state, Mahankal Lok, Ujjain's Mahankal, across the board in India, and that has had a reverberating effect in terms of India's rise of India's cultural nationalism again across the world.
Integral to Bharat's culture is also the culture of the Northeast. I just quickly want to get your reaction on what Mr. Mohammad Yunus said in Beijing about the Northeast.
I think I started with that comment. The Northeast shares 6,000 kilometers of an international boundary. And therefore, our connectivity with the global South is unparalleled to anyone. And while I've been engaging as donor minister with all our 8 chief ministers and understanding, trying to provide value in their effort to move forward, one of the things that I've been laying a lot of stress on is not only to look outward towards the north, but also to look outward towards the south. Because the capability that the Northeast has in terms of it being a Shangri-La, a preserve of nature, horticulture, floriculture. Very few people are aware, and when in my earlier avatar as Minister of Civil Aviation, when I started Krishi Udan, the fact that our queen pineapples from Tripura don't travel all the way to maybe a Thailand or maybe a Chennai. Our queen pineapples through Krishi Udan travel all the way to Germany. Our chilies from Nagaland, our king chilies, go all the way to Dubai. And so therefore our capability to be able to impact both the global north and the global south from the northeast is phenomenal. And I do not believe that even though other countries may not be completely landlocked, they have the diversity and the capability that our Ashtalakshmi of the northeast have.
Thank you for that. So you have in your own way answered Mr. Mohammad Yunus and quite ably, but you talked about your earlier avatar as civil aviation. So I just want to ask you, your father, Madhavji also, was the Minister of Civil Aviation. How was it for you to walk into that office and to sit on that chair when that happened?
A very emotional moment, a very sobering moment. And a period through which I worked assiduously to be able to live up to his dreams, to be able to, I've not been able to do what he did, which was really open up the skies and give choice to the consumer. But in my own humble way, tried to proliferate both on the physical infrastructure, the airport side, as well as the airlines. We gave birth to 3 new airlines in those 3 to 4 years. A large carrier in the form of Akasa, smaller carriers across the length and breadth of India, including the Northeast. And I really believe that civil aviation will become the core of infrastructure growth in the years to come. Just to give you an example, today railways in first and second class, because that's the competition, because the aircraft by its very nature is air conditioned, carries 185 million people across our country. Civil aviation last year carried close to about 155 million people. But civil aviation is growing at a CAGR of 10.3%, whereas railways first and second class is going at a CAGR of roughly 5.6%. So in another 4 years, civil aviation will end up carrying many more people across the length and breadth of our country than the railways in first and second class.
Many people, Jyoti ji, and it's the first time I'm asking you this question, and there's a lot of time that's passed, but still, when you made the transition, there were many things that you were called. A political opportunist, a betrayer, etc., etc. And you held your counsel through all that. I remember once you had said that I'll allow my work to do the talking. But today I want to ask you what you felt and why did you make the decision when you did? And as you look back, you think you chose right.
So Anand, I don't believe on dwelling on my past. I believe that God has been kind and given you birth on this earth to do good, to try and impact lives in a positive manner, in whatever way you can. And I believe that I have not joined the cause of politics. I believe that I've joined the cause of public service. And for me, my father used to say, and it still rings true in my head, that जिंदगी में लक्ष्य राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए, जिंदगी में लक्ष्य जनसेवा होनी चाहिए और राजनीति केवल एक माध्यम होनी चाहिए उस लक्ष्य की पूर्ति करने के लिए, उससे ज्यादा नहीं. And that's what I try and live every day. And for me, that journey is of public service. The journey is hopefully to be able to even impact a single person's life. And so I dwell on my present and I dwell on my future.
But coming back to the current position, did you feel a lot of it was being done because you came in? You got Minister of Civil Aviation, now you are the Telecom Minister, Communications Head, Dornier Minister of Dornier. Your growth in this new political ecosystem. How are
Let
people
me be
judged?
very candid. In the Bharatiya Janata Party, your growth is determined on the basis of your performance. Just like your growth would be within TV18. And so you and I are on par. The only difference is I can't look as debonair as you.
This gentleman is 54 years old. If you look at him, can you believe it? And he's talking about me looking dapper. So, the compliment is right back at you, Jyoti ji. The other question is, was politics your first choice? Did it happen?
No, it
because
wasn't.
So
No,
how
it
did that happen? And there are a lot of youngsters here.
So I was at, after I graduated from undergrad at Harvard, I was an investment banker for 6 years with Morgan Stanley in New York, in Hong Kong, and then in Mumbai. And then I decided to go back to business school. So I had the good fortune of attending Stanford Business School. And there was a course in there on entrepreneurship. And where you had to form a team and make a business plan. So a colleague of mine from the GSB and one from the engineering school, we all got together and we made a business plan. And this is many years ago. So I'm not going to say when, but many years ago when call centers and all of that had not happened in India. So decades ago. And we thought of doing a NOC, which is a network operating center for a lot of the equipment manufacturing majors in the US, in the Valley, in India. And be it as it may, we won that competition. And we were looking at, we had raised first round of funding, we'd hired a US CEO, and my partner and I had come to India to look for office space. And we came back in August. And within a month of my return, the unfortunate accident happened. And my life changed completely, and I got into, again, I want to add, I got into public service, not politics.
Youth here, should they choose public service, politics as a career? Would you advise
So first
them?
of all, you know, this is my personal calling, and my calling is not politics. Politics has positivity, but a lot of negativity attached to it. If you make your core, depends what you want. If you want power, if you want control, public service is not your calling. If you want to serve, Mahatma Gandhi once said that you find yourself when you lose yourself in the service of others. And if that is your calling, then yes, public service. And a simple thought that always reverberates in my mind is that, खुशी के समय में जब हर एक घर में हर्ष और उल्लास की आवाज गूंज रही हो, अगर आप उस आवाज में मौजूद हो या ना हो, वो महत्वपूर्ण नहीं है, पर दुख के समय में दुख बांटने के लिए सदैव मौजूद होना ये अनिवार्य है. So for me, weddings are optional, but funerals are mandatory. And that's the spirit with which I live on a day-to-day basis. I look at myself every quarter, every 6 months. Have I done something different? Have I impacted people's lives? What are the new ways that I can do it? How is it that I can improve myself? Another piece of advice I want to give to people is never think you're perfect. Because God hasn't given you an opportunity on this earth because you're perfect. God has given you an opportunity on this earth to find out and make mistakes and learn from mistakes. So always try and improve yourself. Talk to people who are close, who will give you correct feedback, correct guidance, and improve. Always try and improve yourself every day. And if you go with that purpose, then you will find a place in people's hearts throughout that journey as well.
Life has also knocked you down, like it's thrown a few curveballs at you. तो आपने कैसे अपने आप को हैंडल किया, खासकर फेलियर, खासकर ऐसा मोमेंट जब सब आपको छोड़ गए, आप अकेले रह गए, या फिर सेटबैक्स हुए?
In life, always, when you're on the crease, bat with a straight bat. If you bat with a straight bat, whether there's a curve ball thrown at you, a googly, a yorker, pace, spin,
स्ट्रेट बैट. एक प्रश्न है, सबके मन में है, जैसे मैंने आपको.
and always be transparent.
जी.
If you can do things for someone, great. If you can't, be transparent. Say, भैया, इस वजह से मैं नहीं कर सकता. At least that person will go away from you thinking, कम से कम इस आदमी ने सत्य तो कहा. Otherwise, when we go to every door, I go to every door, हाँ, देख लेंगे, कर लेंगे, देख लेंगे, कर लेंगे. Right? So there is some value for truth.
But how do you fight this game of narratives? अब वापस ले लीजिए, यूनुस साहब की बात को ले लीजिए. The way he's tried to spin that narrative about the Northeast, about Bharat and about Bangladesh and this whole landlocked thing. हम जो कर रहे हैं वो बात अलग है, but एक narrative.
Narrative is about making sure that you lift the reality and lift the truth about the competitive and comparative advantages of your proposition. That's the narrative. And I think that India is, after a very, very long time, been able to set that narrative across the world under the leadership of PM Modi.
You think that will hold? You think that will hold this effort and this approach?
I don't think our country today is on a roll. No power in the world will be able to stop our country. We are today close to a $4 trillion economy. We will be a $5 trillion economy by 2028. We'll be a $6 trillion economy by 2030. We're the 5th largest economy in the world. We will be the 3rd largest economy in the world by 2028. That is my unspoken commitment and unspoken confidence in our country.
Brilliant. We got very little time. So there's a student who's come here who came up and said he has a question for you. Shubhranshu, where are you? Oh, there he is.
धन्यवाद. मंत्री जी से मेरा सवाल ये है कि जो उत्तर पूर्व है और
Can you just speak up a little bit?
Yeah.
And give me your name and what are you studying?
I'm Subhranshu. I'm doing my PhD in Jawaharlal Nehru University. I'm from Assam. सो मंत्री जी से मेरा सवाल यह था कि जो भारत का दूसरा अंश है और उत्तर पूरब है, उसको भावनात्मक रूप से जुड़ने के लिए आपकी मिनिस्ट्री कैसे कदम उठा रही है? जैसा कि हम देख सकते हैं कि पिछले 10 साल में बहुत अच्छे काम हुए हैं नॉर्थ ईस्ट को लेके, और आज एस्टर को जो रिसेप्शन मिला वो उसी का प्रमाण है। लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं आज भी लगता है कि भारत के बहुत अंशों को नॉर्थ ईस्ट के बारे में बहुत कम मालूम है आज भी, और नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोग भी गर्मजोशी से जो मिलना चाहते हैं भारत के दूसरे लोगों से, वो हो नहीं पा रहे हैं। तो इस मानसिक दूरी को या इमोशनल कनेक्टिविटी को बढ़ाने के लिए आप कैसा कदम लेना चाहेंगे?
वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन। तो मैं मानता हूं कि हृदय को अगर आप जोड़ोगे तो सारे संबंध जुड़ते हैं, और आज बहुत कम लोगों को मालूम है, लेकिन अगर आप आर्थिक दृष्टिकोण से देखो, भारत 7-7.5% घरेलू उत्पादन दर के आधार पे बढ़ रही है, पर उत्तर पूर्वी के 8 राज्य, उसमें एक भी राज्य मैं कम नहीं करूंगा, 8 के 8 राज्य 12 से 14% घरेलू उत्पादन दर से बढ़ रही हैं। उनकी कैगर 12 से 13% है, भारत की कैगर 6.5 से 7.5% है। तो उत्तर पूर्वी राज्य आज भारत की रेल की इंजन बन चुकी हैं, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, हमारी ये कोशिश है और हम लोग इस कार्यक्रम पे शुरुआत कर रहे हैं, जो नौजवान और युवा भी इस कार्यक्रम में उपस्थित हैं। उत्तर पूर्वी के 8 राज्यों, अष्टलक्ष्मी के 8 राज्यों से हम अपने नौजवान विद्यार्थियों को 2 हफ्तों 3 हफ्तों के लिए देश के अनेक विद्यालयों में हम लोग कोर्स कराने जा रहे हैं, और देश के अनेक विद्यालयों से विद्यार्थियों को लेकर उत्तर पूर्वी के कॉलेजों में कोर्स कराने हम लोग जा रहे हैं। तो दोनों तरफ से एक इतिहास को समझने के लिए पढ़ने से नहीं होता, इतिहास को समझने के लिए उसे अनुभव करना पड़ता है, और जो आप जमीन पर चल के अनुभव करते हो वो कभी आप हवाई जहाज से या किताब से पढ़ के कभी अनुभव नहीं कर सकते। इसलिए मैं अपना उदाहरण दूं, मैं दौरा भी उड़न खटोले से या प्लेन से करना पसंद नहीं करता, मैं 600 किलोमीटर गाड़ी से चलता हूं, क्योंकि वहां पग पग पे एक एक व्यक्ति से मुलाकात होती है। और ये अगर जोड़ हम लोग कर लें देश के अंदर का, तो फिर इसका कोई तोड़ नहीं हो सकता। आज पिछले 3 दिन में माधवपुर में मेला चला है, गुजरात में खेड़ में, रुक्मिणी और कृष्णा जी की यूनियन की, और उत्तर पूर्वी से हम लोग ने 320 हमारे आर्टिजन्स को, हस्तशिल्पियों को, हैंडलूम के, उनको हमने गुजरात में भेजा है, ताकि ये यूनियन भी और ये इतिहास का तरंग भी जीवित हम लोग रख पाए।
तो इस रिश्ते को ऐसे लॉक कर रहे हैं कि कोई भी और लैंडलॉक करके इसे तोड़ने की कोशिश न करे, तो ऐसा कह रहे हैं ज्योतिरादित्य जी। वेल, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, श्री ज्योतिरादित्य सिंधिया, थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, थैंक यू, बिग राउंड ऑफ अप्लॉज, थैंक यू।
Well, ladies and gentlemen, South Asia is now home to more